Okay, so here's a picture of the bus that was hit by a rock. You were on that bus?
I was in that bus.
Really? So what happened?
Well, it was a rainy morning and we were coming along above the dam there. They were just working on it. It wasn't done. And there was a bunch of rocks falling off the bluffs above the highway. And a good-sized one hit the bus.
Wow.
And there was a girl sitting right there in that seat, and it broke her collarbone. The side of it caved in against her so hard. I'd never seen, I got off the bus and never even looked at it.
And so you lived up there when?
I went to school there from first grade through the 8th. No, I was born in Woodland, but I never lived in Woodland. I lived over in Napa until probably about 1942 or 43. And then we moved to Monticello. My grandmother lived there and my aunt, uncle.
And whereabouts in town was your house?
My house was the first house on the right as you went into town.
On the main street?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's so you. So okay, yeah. So there was, and then the river was on the left.
Left side, yeah. Yeah, there was. I could walk across the street and go through the. There was Ray and Alma Adams lived in that house at the time, and I'd walk through their yard and go down to the creek and go fishing.
That's awesome. So and then you moved out of the valley before they.
I guess everybody stayed there. A lot of people stayed until what, 1956 or 7. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we left in the fall of '55.
And then you moved
straight to Nevada.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. So what were your parents saying when knowing that everything was flooding and?
Well, my mom felt terrible. She never did get over it, really.
Yeah.
And my dad, he got an opportunity to go have a bunch of cows out in the middle of Nevada, and that's what he liked. So.
Yeah. Jeez.
I didn't like it. I missed my old home and all this pretty green grass on the hills in the spring, but I couldn't live back down here now.
Do you remember when you came back? What, like your family came back to visit, or?
Yeah, we come back down several times as the dam was filling up. Mm-hmm. I was surprised at how quick it filled up.
Yeah. That's
and started running through that.
I think they had an unusually wet year that first.
I think so, yeah. Yeah.
And you said your dad was in the rodeo?
Yeah, he was an RCA cowboy. He rodeoed all over California and Nevada.
So when he moved up to Nevada, did he continue the rodeo up there?
Yeah, he did.
Elko or?
Well, I don't remember him going to Elko, but he rode Reno and Fallon and Tonopah and all those other little towns. Austin, where we lived, we moved to Austin, and it had a rodeo, but it was amateur. But anybody could ride it.
And you have a picture of him?
Yeah, this picture right here. Yeah. This was taken in 1950.
That's him on that?
What was the name? It was Measles?
Yeah, the horse was called Measles. I don't know who the stock contractor was, maybe Jim Milrick or Bob Barnby.
It was 1950, dude.
50, yep.
Wow.
Look at these pictures here.
I know.
I think that might be a girl that went to school with me by the name of Nadine Smith. But anybody else I can't identify. But look at this guy. He's got a suit and a necktie and a Stetson hat. And it has to be about 100 degrees out there. Yeah.
That was the funniest damn
I never seen that. But I heard that they did that.
I think it was your dad come out on a bareback horse and he had a suitcase in it. And it was full of chicken hens. And he got out there 2 or 3 jumps and turned that loose and them chickens was going everywhere.
Yeah, I heard about that, but I was too young then. I didn't get to see it.
My dad was born in the same house he lived in when the dam went in.
The big house up the valley there.
Yeah. In 1886.
When, 1806?
1886.
86.
Yeah.
Well, I remember getting in that old Dodge with my grandpa Pop
Yeah.
and driving up to Uncle Phil's place.
Yeah.
And I was probably only 4 years old, you know, it was during World War II. But I remember doing that, and I loved to go with him. We'd go about once a month up there.
Yeah.
And he'd drive that old Dodge through the creek, and he said, "Oh, this is good for it. It'll swell them wooden spokes up." Yeah.
We used to take the tractor and pull the old wagon that had wood spokes down into Pewter Creek and let them sit for about a week before haying season.
I remember you had a Model T Roadster, a pickup.
Yeah, pickup.
Took it hill climbing up in there behind the cemetery.
Yeah. That was the first car I ever had to give $10 for it.
$10?
Yeah. I give $65 for it.
That one?
And sold it for 10.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. You know,
That's the way I sold horses all my life. I just made a fortune.
yeah, for somebody.
Yeah, pretty much buy high and sell low.
You know, there was a lot of them old cars sitting around in them days, but I was too young to get a hold of them.
Yeah.
Aunt Annie had a 34 Ford Coupe sitting in her garage.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, and I wanted that thing so bad, but I was only about 12, you know, and I didn't have a driver's license, so. And then O.C. Henry had a 40 Ford sedan sitting behind an old shack in the orchard up there, just down the street from Johnny Muller's place.
Yeah.
And I knew he'd sell it, and I was about 13 or 14, and I wanted it really bad too. And my dad said, "No."
Hi, is this going now?
Yeah. He said, "No, you don't have a driver's license. You can't have that." And that cowboy Pat Patterson bought it for $25 and put a battery in it and drove it away.
God damn. He died too.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and I rode a bull down at Red Views one time, double. I was facing forward and Pat was facing
For
backwards.
Christ's sake, I'd like to see that.
It didn't last too long.
No, I know. I was going to be a bull rider, you know.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. So they had that steer riding at the Monticello Rodeo. And I come out and I made about 2 jumps and I plowed into the ground real hard. And I got up and looked around and I thought, this ain't no fun. That was the end of my career. Yeah.
I rode a few of them, but I never was successful.
The only bronc riding I did was a few of them wild ones on the ranch that I didn't intend to ride.
Well, your dad and Jimmy Connors, maybe old Stack Mays, he was probably a real cowboy at one time.
Yeah.
But they were the only real cowboys in that whole goddamn valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, 8 or 10 years old, I used to get one of my grandfather's horses, and my older brother Larry would get another horse and we'd take him down into Pewter Creek in the summertime and swim him
in the creek.
Yeah, and that was a lot of fun. So what did you guys do when you were kids for fun?
Well, we were so far out of town, I played by myself.
Yeah.
Played the Lone Ranger and fought all them.
Well, you made toys too, probably.
Yeah.
You know, and that, I know I did.
And my brother Glenn made toys.
Yeah.
He was quite a bit older than me.
I remember going up, there was a big black walnut row of trees up by you guys.
Yeah.
I remember riding my bike up there, me and my brother, and picking black walnuts to make a little extra money. But
we used to go down there at nighttime and pick them in front of the car headlights to get money to go to the show in winters for gas.
We used to get $1 a sack.
Yeah, we got 2.5 a sack.
Well, you guys, we were getting ripped off then.
Yeah.
But so I left the valley when I was 10, but I remember it real well.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of pictures in Carroll. But how old were you when you left the valley?
23, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't leave till 56.
That we left in 55, but we were back there in 56.
Yeah.
So
I never come back for a lot of years.
well, there are a lot of people that had a bad taste in their mouth.
I was one of them.
I know. Yeah.
I used to run them goddamn bureau surveyors off in the ditch if I met them coming down the road. I'm really surprised somebody didn't get killed.
Yeah.
I am.
I was too young. Maybe I threw rocks at them, but I didn't do very much.
If I seen them coming, we had that old 1947 Dodge pickup, 37, and I'd run them off the goddamn road.
Hey, he's going to correct me on this story if I'm wrong. And I think I've asked him before. But I had a cousin named Jerry Taylor, and him were real good friends. I mean, they did a lot of stuff together. Well, anyway, somehow they went into Trout Creek. That was a creek over from where they lived, and something happened, but they had to go back and get a tractor. And somebody coming back, I guess, somebody kicked the tractor in neutral and tore the clutch of the transmission out of it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
And I heard your dad made you work all summer to pay for that.
That's right.
That was the best story I've ever heard,
That was coming down they had a road out there.
Right.
But it just went, however, there was some steep chamois hills out there.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, hell, this thing ought to coast pretty good. And I hit the clutch, and that tractor took off. It was a Caterpillar. And it took off downhill, and pretty soon there was a big bang, and dust flew everywhere. And that's as far as the tractor went. But I did. I had to work all summer to pay for the tractor transmission.
He used to live in Nevada, somewhere where the gypsum mine was, or where that mine was that you worked at.
I worked for the mine.
Yeah. So he told me a story that some neighbor had a dog, and the dog used to get to barking, and he said he crawled down a ditch one night and took care of that dog.
Yeah, I run home. There was it was down next to the swimming pool, and there was a light there, a big light. And I crawled up along this little dirt berm, and that dog was just sitting out there barking at the moon, and I raised up I still got that shot. I raised up with that old 12 gauge and just blew it in half.
That's funny.
That guy come out and said, he was walking down the street, and he says, if I find that son of a bitch, I'm going to shoot him. Well, hell, I had 2 or 3 more shells in the gun. I wasn't worried. I run home. The old gun broke apart real easy. I broke the gun apart, threw it under the mattress, and jumped in bed.
So when you lived up there at the lake, or lived up there in the valley, you lived down at Mackenzie's Packing Shed. Wasn't that on the way down past Guy Burgess and Johnny Muller's going to the dump?
Yeah, but never lived down. My brother did.
Oh, okay.
Don.
Okay. I wasn't sure.
The number one asshole of the family.
Yeah. I know the feeling. But anyway, that's pretty good get together, for what's left in the valley.
Yeah.
There's not many of us left, I know that.
I graduated here, was supposed to have, in 1951.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how many of those classmates are left.
Oh, boy.
The last time we had a class meeting, that was out on out 128.
Yeah.
And there was, I think, 17 of us left there.
Wow.
I'll tell you who called me the other day that was a classmate. was Patty Murray.
Really?
Yeah. First time she ever called me in her life.
So where does she live? Do you know?
They had a pretty good piece of property up in Idaho next to some BLM ground or something.
Right.
Because they'd invited me up, her and Ralph had invited me up 2 or 3 times
Right.
to go riding with them, and I never did make it.
You know, I think you were probably involved as on Halloween night when we up in the valley. Somebody, the older
Guilty.
kids, meaning you, I used to go with you, but they would go get tomatoes, and they would throw them at different people and turn outhouses over, at least try to.
Yeah.
You know, so anyway. But I think this is pretty good. Hey, you see that Monticello T-shirt there, hanging up there, the white one, right here on top?
Oh, yeah.
A buddy of mine down there in Napa, about 10 years ago.
How you doing? Good to see you, bud.
About 10 years ago, I had him make those. I made a whole bunch of them, and that's how I remembered them. So I don't know if it's accurate or not. You'd know.
I think I got one of them.
Did you get one from Carol?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That house down there on the corner
Yep.
right above, that was my dad's house.
You know, some of these pictures here, I've got a book at home that Carol took the pictures of all of these places, including your dad's house. It's an old book about this big, and then she blew the pictures up. I should get copies of that and give to you.
Yeah.
I don't know where it came from. It was in the family somehow.
I got a family album that was made in San Francisco of from Abraham down.
Right.
He would have been my great-grandfather.
Yeah.
But you know, all my grandparents were dead before I was born.
Well,
Damn, you miss a lot.
You see, that's where I got lucky, because my grandparents, like my grandmother, lived to be 103 on the Samuel side, and hell, I was in my 60s.
Yeah.
So I got all those years,
information.
You know? Yeah. So that really helped me a lot.
It does help a lot.
But I've got, Woody's going to come down sometime and look at what I've got. I've got a ton of stuff. I got a lot more than Carol's got.
I've got a ton of stuff on Abraham and my great-grandparents, but I don't have hardly anything on my grandparents.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
See, my great-grandparents, most of it's in history books about the county of Napa.
Right. So, how was Bobby Gardner in age compared to you?
Bobby was probably 2 years older than me.
He just died.
Is that right? I knew somebody
Last year.
had seen him not very long ago.
Well, he lived in Oregon,
Yeah.
and I just happened to pull him up on the internet, and it said that he had died.
I'll be damned.
He was 92. So, crazy.
Yeah.
Hell, I never thought I'd make 50, and here I am, 77.
Well, I outlived everybody in my family.
I know.
Except my ancestors.
Yeah.
There was a few of them. Well, Prunes lived to be
Right. Pretty old age.
96.
Yeah.
I'm trying to catch up with her, but she runs like hell.
Yeah. Well, she has a birthday in 2 weeks.
Me too. The 20th.
97.
I'll be
97. I forget.
90, so I forget, 96.
96.
I'll be 89.
I was going to say, you're not even 90 yet.
She was jogging at that age.
Yeah, oh hell yeah.
That's a lot of baloney.
Well, she gave up her treadmill at 92. She said, "Get that thing the hell out of the house." So there you
All
go.
these things. Have you
Yeah.
been in this winter's museum before?
No.
Neither have I. I didn't even know it was here.
Well, we just opened it up about a week ago, and so we're having a kind of a grand opening today.
Yes.
And this is kind of like the private opening for people that live there. And then tonight at 7, we're having like a public opening.
The people here today are people like us.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Monticello, or what do you call somebody from Monticello?
Monticelli.
Monticellite? Okay, so this is for the Monticellites who didn't want to sell out.
You recognize other people here?
Yeah, I don't recognize quite a few of them. See, I'm younger than you. You forget I'm younger than you.
Right. Just a kid.
Just a kid.
Well, you were a kid.
Yeah.
Howdy. Hello again.
You are recognized.
Yeah. Good thing too.
You don't remember Murray Clark?
Murray Clark? Of course I do. Your mustache used to be bigger.
And you
Yeah.
didn't you have
And
a
waxed.
beard? Also a beard?
Remember where there was?
Yeah.
I saw a picture.
Yeah.
You know Gwen?
I'm Bob's wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yep. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I often wonder about you. I wonder if you're still with us, or is she just a kid too? Is she just a kid?
I'm a kid. Yeah.
Yes.
Just a kid.
Yes, very definitely.
Yeah.
That you?
Yeah.
Yep, that's you. That's you.
This guy
recently.
here
Yeah.
is
That's you
Pete's
recently.
brother. All right, his dad. That's his dad.
Oh, okay.
He lived in 90 something,
He was,
92 or something like that.
I've got to get up and see what
89. That little chip you give me,
yeah,
sent to me.
flash drive.
Yeah. I recognized quite a few of those old people, but there was a lot of them I didn't recognize too.
Well, I would look, and I know I've seen them, but I couldn't put a name.
Yeah.
Glad you're here, 'cause I watched you I came last.
But that was when we went back east, and Linda and I told her I want to go to the cemetery. Great.
Yeah.
So we did. We found it,
I'll be darned.
and it's a pretty wooded area, but across the street, big open field, and the cemetery just like it's manicured. I mean, it's a real nice shape.
I'll
And
be.
then there was some other Clarks there too.
Yeah.
I figured they must be some kind of.
Yeah, they are. I've read about it. You know,
I think I gave you pictures of it, didn't I? Of the cemetery?
no.
I did? Well, then I'll dig something up, find them and dig them up, and
Okay.
make some copies and send them to you.
Yeah, I'd like to have them. That's another Clark there from Wooden Valley. She's Lilburn's daughter, I think.
Yeah.
David. David. Yeah. She's 97, I think she told me. Yeah, I think she told me she was 97. She said, "You're just a kid."
Linda's got a friend there at Vacaville, who's not too far from us. And she belongs to that Red Hat Society. She's going to be 100 years old here pretty soon, and that is the feistiest little woman I've ever seen. She drives all the way up to the casinos and gambles, and then drives home. She's just
That's a long drive for somebody in good shape. My great-grandfather come in here in 1864
Great-grandfather.
Yeah.
From where?
from Ohio.
From Ohio?
He originally come from England. Okay.
It's when the famine was going on over there, and all those people were in those so-called workhouses and starving to death. And the church paid their way for 100 people to come over on the ship. And I've got the manuscript, a copy of the manuscript. And they got in the valley up. They come to Napa. He had $2.50 left in his pocket when he got to Napa. Him and his wife and his brother-in-law and 2 wagons. And he farmed around Napa there one year and made a little money, and then he went up to Sonoma.
Are we in the 1860s now? 1870s?
1860.
Okay. And I didn't ask, what is your name? Because I didn't get
Murray Clark.
Murray Clark. All right, Murray Clark. So it is a farming around Napa.
Yeah, you know, and it's ironic because they were starving to death in England, and he come over here, and 10 years later, he owned 10,000 acres of Berryessa Valley, and he made his money raising wheat, shipping it back to Europe.
Okay, so wheat was a very popular crop, I understand, at the
Yeah, it was the big thing.
Monticello.
Well, I just learned something the other day on the news about wheat that I didn't know. This country that Russia just invaded, I can't think of the name of it.
Ukraine. Yeah.
Ukraine. Well, that cane comes from Ukraine. I bought that over the internet from Ukraine before this shit all happened. And I feel so sorry for those people. Don't seem like anybody wants to just step up and help them. I mean, they're helping them, but not the way I'd like to see it. Anyway, they made a fortune here. Built a 26-room mansion. There's a picture of it in here somewhere. And it had 13 fireplaces in it. And hot water upstairs and down. Running water.
That's a good one.
Yeah, in that time.
And you were able to spend time there as a child? Were you?
No. This is all in a book called History of Napa County.
Okay.
So that's how I documented it all. It's got it out of that history book. And it burnt down in 1926. The house did.
Okay, is that the photo of it I saw over there?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice home, 2-story home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that burned down in 1926, 30 years or more before the dam was built.
Oh, more than that, it'd be 100 and something.
In what year did the house burn down?
26.
1826?
1920.
Okay, 1926.
Anyway, I have a little trouble remembering.
Okay. Well, I think we were at Napa, and they did the farming and the wheat, and the wheat crop was a real popular crop here.
Yeah, and he was the richest producer of wheat in Napa County at that time.
Okay.
And then he died about 1870 something.
Did he have a wife and children, and did kids carry on for him?
Had a wife and 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. Each one of the girls got for a wedding present, got a ranch.
A ranch?
A ranch.
Oh.
Some of them pretty good size.
So he had some pretty good acreage. He could give it away, huh?
Yeah. And then later on, the boys lost all, and the girls
those two before they lost every bit of it.
How did that happen?
I think probably part of it was the depression, and part of it was they wanted to be gentlemen ranchers and only wear suits, and they wouldn't get in there and work. And then in 1934, year before I was born, or after, my dad wound up buying the ranch that had been his farm, and it was 700 acres. And he done well.
And what did he do on the ranch? Was he raising wheat again, or
Wheat,
cattle,
a few
horses,
cattle,
pigs?
Lots of pigs. Raised lots of pigs.
And so, tell me about your experiences there in Monticello.
Well, from the time I was born up till the dam went in, I just lived there on the ranch.
You did live, and you went to school at the Monticello School?
Went to Oak Grove School.
Oak Grove School?
First year.
How many room school was that? A one room? I was sort of expecting that answer, but I thought I'd ask.
And the last year they run that school, there was only 3 kids in it. Me and my next older brother and a young girl.
And did you graduate at the top of your class?
I never graduated anywhere.
Oh, okay, well.
I went to more school and you can shake a stick at, and I never graduated.
And when did your father die? Your parents died?
My mother died when I was a 14-year-old. She died in 1949 with a brain tumor.
Sorry to hear.
And my father died in somewhere in the 60s. He committed suicide.
Sorry to hear that. Now, did he sell the property, or did the Bureau of Land Reclamation take it from him?
Well,
eminent domain or whatever they were doing.
That's what happened.
They did, huh?
But we went to court with them and eventually beat them out of $90,000.
So that was a good value at the time?
At the time, it was
for the
fair.
700 acres?
But you had to go through all the BS to get to that.
Right.
It drug on for several years.
So I assume the offer that they made was less than what your father eventually got through the courts?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And how about your aunts and uncles, his siblings? Were they?
I'm the only one left.
Okay. How many brothers and sisters do you have?
There was 5 boys and 1 girl.
So you were all able to, hard-working ranch kids there, huh?
Yeah, my sister married a guy from Winters here. You know or heard of Charlie Bauer?
I have not, no.
Okay, he was a janitor down at the high school for years and years and years.
Charlie Bauer, right?
Yeah. And she married his son, and he eventually wound up in the Bay Area working for Standard Oil. And I eventually wound up down there.
And where do you live now?
Red Bluff.
Red Bluff, okay.
I'm retired now. I'm still a active member of the Denver Pipe Fitters, local welding.
And what are some of your fondest memories of the Monticello Valley there and on the farm growing up?
Oh, probably we all hunted together as a family.
And what were you hunting for? What was out there to hunt?
Deer.
Deer?
Yeah. Of course, my dad knew all that land like the back of his hand, so he knew where to set you on a stand and where the bucks run and where they had their beds made and all that.
Well, that's interesting. So the family hunted deer together on the...
It was a big family thing, and then in the fall time, September, October, they go north to Modoc County and hunt up there. Of course, you could go wherever you wanted then. The law didn't tell you where you could hunt and where you couldn't.
A little more open at that time.
Oh, much more open.
And so fond memories like of hunting with your family. I've looked at some of the photographs around here, and I see some, with kids on bicycles riding on streets.
Yeah.
And what was the city like, the town like of Monticello?
about big as a postage stamp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A store, a couple stores, right? Some retail.
At times, early years before I was born, there was a couple of stores and 2 or 3 liquor houses and stuff like that. There used to be on 128 going between Napa and Monticello, they used to haul freight out of there with teams and wagons. They hauled their wheat and they hauled it out to Napa.
And that would pick up by train and taken to ships or whatnot? Or
yeah.
Across the railroad?
And then he, one time he met a guy on a bicycle up on the high corner above Wooden Valley. And the damn team spoke. They'd never seen a bicycle before. And they went down over the bank there. And I mean, it was 1,000 feet or more, basically straight off. And yet I can remember seeing a wagon laying down there against a tree.
So a bicycle spooked the horses, and the horses went over this.
Some of them were tied on behind, 2 of them were tied on behind the wagon, and they pulled loose and got away. But the other 4 went over and he killed 2 of them.
He killed the horses. Were there people on the wagon too that were?
I can't tell you whether it was my dad was driving or somebody else. I don't remember that. But they jumped off of the wagon. Got away.
And so, growing up in Monticello, I mean, were there lots of friends you had, or were there girls down there when you started dating? What did you have to go to some other city to go to a dance, or what was the?
Come down here.
Come down to Winters.
Come to Winters, yeah. I started high school in 1948 here in Winters. We rode a bus back and forth.
Oh, okay. So your elementary school was in the one-room school, and that went from what, like a kindergarten type until when? To high school?
No, 1st grade through 8.
1st through 8.
Yeah.
And then Winters High School for high school.
Yeah.
Okay. And they had a bus that would drive you back and forth every day?
Yeah.
How many kids on that bus with you? Many?
Well, it fluctuated a lot. Sometimes there was probably 25 or 30. Sometimes there was 6 or 8.
Well, in the 40s, as you said, were the kids going to school, required to go to school, and were they planning to take over like the family farms and continue farming?
Yeah. That's all I ever wanted to do, was be a farmer. Roll some clods around.
And so you had some success as a young man farming with the family, right?
Oh yeah. Done a little farming with horses and, not a lot, but some.
And so what was a typical day like? Say when you're a 15-year-old boy on a summer vacation, what was a typical day like?
You got up damned early in the morning.
Yeah, I expected that, yeah. With the roosters crow?
Yeah. Usually went and done the chores and fed the horses or pigs or whatever you were feeding before breakfast, and then you can come back and have breakfast. My mom would cook biscuits and gravy or pork chops or steaks, venison steaks, and then when harvest time, she had 7 or 8 more because it took 7 or 8 people to run a combine in those days. It wasn't a one-man operation.
So I got you. And did you horses for that too, or did the horses pull it?
They did prior to about the time I come along. Then they got their first tractor. The first tractor I remember having is an old Caterpillar, 30 horsepower.
30 horsepower?
Yeah.
That's not a whole lot of horsepower, is it?
Well, that's about what they use to pull a combine with.
Really?
30 horses.
But prior to that, it was all done by hand and mule and horse. Okay. And so, did you also like slaughter the animals on your farm, like for food or your beef?
No. Oh hell, my dad wouldn't have stood for that. He loved his. See that kid in the blue shirt there?
Yes.
His grandfather run the bus. And they went to Sacramento every day and picked up groceries and stuff for the little local store. And then they'd bring it back at night when we come home. We'd leave at 7 in the morning and get home 5 at night.
So you say his uncle drove the bus, the school
his grandfather.
bus. The grandfather drove the school bus and then drop you off at school, go to Sacramento, get the groceries, and come back, pick you up, take you back home.
Yeah. Our ranch was 5 miles from town. So even just to go to town was a big deal for us when you were little, you know.
And you mean the town of Monticello?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you think about the turning of this into the Berryessa Lake? I mean, damming it up, was that a problem?
It was a big problem. I don't know how all those BLM people survived. I myself used to run them off of the road.
Yeah, because they were taking property from people who appreciated and worked their property, right?
Yeah.
Were there ever any kind of disputes that you can remember, like running them off the property? And was everyone doing that?
That was just life to us.
Life out in the wilderness. Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about hospitals and medical? How did that all?
San Francisco, Napa. I was born in Napa myself. Some of the kids were born in San Francisco, and some were born over at Woodland.
But I also can imagine, like working on a farm, injuries occur, and that the parents and others are probably a little more equipped to handle what otherwise now you'd be taking someone to a doctor to take care of, right? Stitching you up or something.
And the first doctor I remember here in town, Winters, was Dr. Potter. He was our first doctor, and he was a good one. He was a good doctor. His son was killed in Korea. He was a fighter pilot. I went to school with him. He was older than me, but he was a nice guy.
And how about some of the kids you grew up with in their adulthood? Any of them go off and do something real important?
Several of them. I can't tell. Some of them I've never seen again. A lot of them I never saw again.
So after they filled the lake up, people just left and...
Yeah. And they basically, most of the kids that were in my class have died. They're all gone. Not all of them. But I don't know how many are left.
Okay. Well, anything that you'd like to add to this little interview for the newspaper? I'm going to be writing an article up, and I'll probably print your name.
Well,
a little bit of this story too.
I could probably sit here and talk longer than I got air. But I can back all that stuff up. It ain't shit that I made up myself to make myself look good.
No.
Because like I said, all that stuff about Abraham and those people, I've got newspaper print of that.
Abraham,
yeah.
I don't know that we got to Abraham. Who was Abraham?
He was my great-grandfather.
Okay, your great-grandfather Abraham.
Yeah.
Well, I believe you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. Nice talking to you.
Well, I may be back.
Good question. You're a good paper man.
So this is your beautiful dress that you wore as Sweetheart for Winners in what year?
1953.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
It's been saved all these years.
Ah,
I could not believe it.
and you said you had to go get it in Oakland. You said it was yeah.
We couldn't find the right dress anywhere. We were living in Berryessa, and there wasn't any shopping around, so I don't remember. But somebody, my parents, my grandparents, drove to Oakland to find this dress in a wedding shop.
Oh.
And so we changed it because it was long sleeves and made it a little bit more modern. We took the things out, but it's been many times getting in and out of a car.
Yeah.
Chopping it a little here and there. So I had it, and then when you put this, I just got emotional.
Oh, it's a beautiful dress. Oh my goodness. So when you were Winter Sweetheart, how did you become that? I mean, was it they?
High school kids chose you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I felt really pleased because we were from the little
country.
Yeah, country town. We didn't apply for anything, and I said that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And now I think it's more important than even then.
Oh yeah. So when you rode the bus from Monticello to here, at one point I guess there was 14 high school students that rode the bus. That's a lot. And
that was it, and that our bus driver was really wild.
Oh geez, who was it? Oh, was he? He drove wild down the hill.
S-turns, the back wheel would drop off.
Oh no.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My mother's being interviewed by Buddy Gardner.
Oh yeah.
Where? Where is that at?
Oh, at the museum.
It's Spanish Fly?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's bad. It must have been a few years ago.
Yeah.
And everything's moved here now.
Yes.
Yes, it's nice.
They did a great job. Bigger and bigger.
I know.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I jumped in.
So, where'd Woody go? Oh, we can still talk, I guess. He can edit it.
Are you still?
Go ahead. He can edit it.
He's gonna edit it.
Okay.
That's my son.
What's his name?
Sean.
They're filming it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I just stepped right in the
That's
middle.
okay.
That's right.
So at the time when you were, there was a lot of sweethearts that came from Monticello. I mean, 7 or something like that in a small amount of time. I mean, that's kind of a lot of girls. They made pretty girls in Monticello, I guess.
Pretty good, I guess, after that.
Oh, that's so cool.
I love the school. I love the town. I love the people.
So when you went to school down here, was it the big school before it burned down, or was it?
There was only 52 in our class.
Oh, okay. Because I think there was one school that I don't know. Somebody said there was a bigger school, and
they built a new school when I was there, and that was a new part. I think I have to go by and see if it's still there.
Oh.
That it was in the front on the main street.
Yeah. So yeah, my dad went to school there too, and I guess he held the long jump record for a while. I guess that was his claim to fame down here. Yeah. I know. I know. So.
The bus ride was quite a trip.
Yeah.
And we didn't eat breakfast in the morning.
Oh, so you throw up?
Yes. So by the time we take our lunch and get in Winners, we were starving.
Oh my gosh.
So we'd eat our lunch for breakfast when we got there. And then we might get to go down to the corner at the Pewter Creek. It was the ice cream place for lunch.
Oh.
And now it's Pewter Creek
Cafe?
Oh
my goodness.
It used to be an ice cream place.
Oh wow, that's neat.
That was a big treat because I always had to. I didn't get to stay with my friends.
Yeah.
School friends, because I had to always catch the darn bus.
Oh.
So I didn't get to hang out with them after school.
And so where did you get on the bus out in Monticello? At your house?
No, they let us off
Town?
No, the store.
Oh, okay.
Cook McKenzie and Son store.
And then you just all walked home from there?
And then our parents had to drive to pick us up.
Because that was a kind of ways from your house.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
had to drive me there and dump me off, and then I took up there. And then the last year I got to stay in Red Canyon. And so, at my grandparents, so I could just catch the bus
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. I always tell everybody that your house was built on that little island that comes up out of Spanish Flat. It comes up every year, the water goes down.
I know. In fact, I went with Edward out there in a boat, and my sisters, and got her on it.
Aw. You guys found some silverware. Oh, man.
And we saw that there was a septic tank.
Oh, wow.
And that was still there.
Oh,
And
geez.
somebody had been in it with a broom or something, trying to see what was in it.
Oh. Come on. Wow. All right. Well, cool. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Did you want to ask her anything, Woody?
I probably asked everything that I wanted to ask, but can you still fit in that dress?
No. I sure would try, though. I think we need the English corsets to suck us in.
Yeah.
Maybe.
She said that nobody gave her a crown. Didn't give her her crown.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess we owe you one.
They kept it, she said.
I almost brought one of those plastic fake ones.
Yeah.
When you left the valley, where did you go?
Napa.
And you've lived there since?
Yes. We started in Napa and then we went up, and so we actually only got to spend 10 great years up there before the dam came. And then everybody scattered.
Do you remember when they were saying we're going to have to leave and we're going to have to leave our house? Do you remember that?
Oh, yes.
And like, I'm just wondering, so you were probably 15 or so when?
17.
17. And so what were the kids talking about? What were they saying? Because this means you would never see them again, or you would likely not see a lot of them.
In high school?
Right.
Yes, it was a hard breakup, really.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just I'm leaving home. It's everybody is going to be spread out.
Yes. And I do keep track of a couple of my friends and theirs and have lunch on Wednesdays. Not lately with the pandemic, but